Hello and welcome everybody. It's Sunday and that means it's time for the final Formula 1 Misfits Racing League race. It's the Spanish GP and joining me as always for the APAC division is Seb. Seb, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good as always, Unicorn. How are you yourself?
Yeah, I'm very excited, very much looking forward to this one. We've had a lot of exciting races here around Spain already this week and well, the APAC division always rounds us off nicely before heading into the new week. But let's have a look at where we are heading today. Spain, we've been around it already multiple times this week, but 16 turns, 2.8 miles, and well, turn 9, turn 2 as well. Some tricky turns out there, Seb, that could really throw some of the drivers off, and we've seen a couple of safety cars brought out by mistakes through those turns. Why don't you take us through the standings and what's happened so far this season?
Yeah, well, thanks for that. And yeah, Mikel leads our Drivers' Championship at the moment. Driving for AlphaTauri on 104 points. He's followed by Ben the Bear, who's had a resurgence with 3 straight wins on the trot after DNFing the first 2 races due to technical issues. Pano follows in third on 40 points. He'll be disappointed. Talking to him during the race, he was pretty confident, but he was just aiming to make up for points that he lost last week. Remco in fourth with a decent showing in Netherlands, with Eccentric in fifth, driving for that Ferrari in his first full-time showing. Trin is in sixth, with Captain of Gold finally arriving for a race after missing the last 3 in seventh. Cello in eighth, with Peter in that Red Bull in ninth after missing last week due to a race ban. Stars in 10th, giving me a bit of stick after I said he was a bit disappointed all the way in P16 from last week, but he's made that up, got a podium, and now he's getting his campaign underway. T-Mac in 11th in his first full-time showing, as well as Eccentric. He scored a good haul of points last time around, with combined in P12. Emzo in 13th and Shrimp in 14th, receiving a penalty for his incident with Eccentric last week. Igor in that Alpha is in 15th, tied with Shrimp on 10 points, with Not So Masum in 16th. Angel and Yukio in the 2 racing points, 17th and 18th. Luckman 19th, and the brown guy rounding off this grid in P20. Meanwhile, in the Constructors, AlphaTauri lead Mercedes by 20 points, with Red Bull in third on 59. The Pirates, or the reserves for those who don't know, are on 45 points ahead of Williams on 40 in 5th position. Alfa Romeo in 6th, McLaren in 7th, Renault 8th, Haas 9th, Ferrari 10th, and Racing Point round out the Constructors in the APAC division.
Yeah, well, it's been a very interesting season so far. It looks like we are already raring to go. All the drivers loading into the lobby as we speak, and well, Spain said, what are your thoughts about this track? It's been a fairly interesting one. It's a despite that it is a bit more open to where we've been already throughout this season, you know, it's still a fairly tricky place to overtake outside of turn 1 and turn 10, really.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It is a tricky place, and it's touted as extremely hard to overtake in real life Formula One. But this is the game. It's got a bit more power from that DRS. Less dirty air to work with. You can get some serious battles from turn 1 to turn 4, and maybe some opportunistic moves in turn 5. But yeah, like you said, it is still a pretty difficult space, although it being a bit more opener than places like Netherlands and Vietnam, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have 18 drivers today in the grid. We've got T-Mac at the top of the title at the moment. Yukio, Remco Van Putten, Not So Masum, Ein Angel, Cello, Combined YouTuber, Panda, Ben the Bear, Matt, Helium, Eccentric, Shrimp, PTR, who's just retired from the session, I believe serving a qualifying ban if I'm not mistaken. Stars, Mikau, Captain of Gold, and Trin there down in 18th place at the moment. But well, we've seen it all throughout this week that most people here wait until those final 5 minutes to go out for a single run on the medium tyres, so we might get a lot of invalidated times in the first 15 or so minutes of this session. But we have got drivers hopping out of the pit lane. It looks like the Renault of Not So Masum was the first out, and well, we were just talking to Ben a little bit, Seb, and he looks like he's gearing up to go for the track record, so I imagine he's going to be qualifying on softs this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking to him. He's looking at the soft hards. I was talking to him on Thursday, and he was really confident. Actually, he loves this track. He feels like it's his. He feels like he's got this, and yeah. He also said that he aims to win all races for the rest of the season. So that is a big statement. But if anyone can do it in this APAC division, you'd think it'd be Ben.
Yeah, he most certainly has the pace, and not only Ben saying he's confident, but even Mikkel in the interviews last week, he was saying how he thinks this is one of Ben's strongest tracks, and he doesn't really have a lot of opportunity to beat him here, but, you know, Bahrain, one of Ben's strongest tracks, and, well, the game had other ideas for him other than winning that race, so anything can happen in the 50% races. I think it's 33 laps around, or 36 maybe around here at Spain, but not so Masoom gearing up for the first fly, and we'll see whether he does indeed go valid. He is going to invalidate it, or he's going to try and invalidate it through the final quarter, it looks like, but he's not going to make it. There he goes.
There we go. We're going to try some way. Don't really want to be qualifying these softs. Medium hards is the go-to strategy.
But we'll go round a lap with him anyway. Through turn 1 into turn 2 for the Renault now. Coming up to the long right-hander that is turn 3. And again, you want to keep it as tight to the right here as possible. Some people, there's a couple of different lines you could take through here. Into turn 4 now. And again, just sticking it as tight to the right as possible. Slingshotting him out onto the racing line for turn 5. We've seen a few opportunistic moves up the inside here. It is possible. But again, pretty tricky. Slight left-hander of 6 into this really tricky section. 7, 8, very wide there. He needn't have invalidated deliberately at the start. But now through 9, and this, it's pretty easy here to just send your car off into either wall. And despite the invalidation, he's going to get out of the way here.
Just giving up on it. I think he's just trying to get that warm-up lap in. Just try and find that rhythm as I talk about all the time. Yeah. He just carried too much speed into turn 7, didn't he? And that just went, added that extra understeer to the car and sent him all the way to the right on turn 8. Right, turn 7, although he's on camber, it just kind of fades away from you a bit.
Yeah, we've just seen Angel do exactly the same thing, and he's crossed to the 1:15.5. But that was with just deliberately trying to find a little bit too wide at the exit. Ben the Bear's flying on mediums. We don't think he's going to qualify on these tyres, but he's getting very sideways. A very nice save from the Mercedes onto the off-road. And he rejoins the track as if nothing's gone wrong, but that was a very, very touch-and-go moment for Ben the Bear.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Turn 9 can make or break a lap in quali and make or break a race. Yeah, you got to be brave in there if you want a good lap time, but it also comes with you gotta just caress that steering wheel and press the car just well enough that you can hover that fine line of sliding the car around the corner, but also not losing control of it. And Ben the Bear nearly lost control of it, didn't he?
Indeed he did, but he's going around again, and I think he is just going to put some laps in on those mediums, as we sometimes see him do at the start of qualifying session. Panda, he's flying right now in the Williams. We'll see whether he's actually going to set a time on these softs or not, but so far so good for him as he it's a little bit of the sausage curb in through turn 13, but through the chicane, and well, he's tried it, but again, he's just going to bin the lap here on the final corner, so as not to set a fast lap. But there we go. 1:16.6 puts him at the top of the leaderboard at the moment, with only now 5 drivers at 1:16.4 coming in from Captain No Goal, but these times will come crumbling down when everyone gets out on the mediums at the end of this session. Stars, I believe, apart from combined junior as well, but these two the only flyers out on track right now, Seb.
Yeah, exactly. These aren't really representative times, are they? A good medium time would be around 14.5s, from what we've been told. So, expect good soft times just to be around the low 14s, at least for the midfield. But yeah, they're just not very keen on starting on these softs, are they? And why would you be? They don't last long, and they can really take away from time. They really add on a lot of time if you take them long.
Yeah, interesting. Yukio disqualified there just a few moments ago, coming across in chat saying that he got disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location just after coming off the track and trying to let people by. Ben, he's set at 1:14.7, and that's a more appropriate time that you'd think you'd be seeing out of these drivers. That is on the mediums though, so I'm sure we'll see a few soft runners beat that, and not only that, but Ben the Bear himself will come through and beat that later on the soft tyres. And we saw a couple, I think Paris in tier 1 at 1:14.3 if I'm not, it might have even been a 14.2 on the medium combined tyres, so there's definitely room for all of these guys to improve. I don't think anyone is still flying out here. I don't know if Ben is going around again in this Mercedes, but it doesn't look like it.
Just getting himself warm. Yeah, I think we just saw on the stream as well. You caught that Stars was just stopped before the line, make sure it didn't set a good soft lap. You'll see that. We might see that a bit more throughout the session.
Yeah, well, we're getting towards that point where, you know, halfway into where we would start seeing people come out. They only get one set of mediums. That's why everyone's waiting. Ben is coming into the pit lane. He's gonna get himself out on presumably some softs at this point if he's getting off the mediums this early. Remco right now, he's about to start a flyer. Well, not about to. He's going up to Sector 3 on his outlap, and he's on soft compound tyres. I wonder whether we'll see him go for a lap here, or if he will, in fact, invalidate just as everyone else before him has done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of just a dull moment in qualifying at the moment. Just not seeing any times being put down that would be really representative of what we expect to see. So we're just going to have to wait a bit more.
Yeah, apparently, Angel, he is going to be doing a flying lap. So Remco, who is on an invalid one, won't be qualifying on softs, it would seem. But the Racing Point engineer coming across in chat telling us that Angel is about to start a flyer in that Racing Point. And he is on the mediums at the moment. It looks like maybe Cello as well will be setting a time on those mediums. So a few drivers gearing up now a little bit early in the session, but they are going to have a go. So let's hop on board with Angel for what appears could be the first actual attempt at a flying lap here in the Racing Point car. Coming down towards turn 1, puts those wheels over the left-hand side to open this corner up as much as possible using all of the curbing on both insides. Very nicely done from the Racing Point so far. A little wide through turn 3, but managing to get it lined up nicely for turn 4. Again, a tad wide for the Racing Point, but nothing too bad. It's not going to cost him too much time. A huge lock-up, though, through turn 5. That might cost him just a tiny amount through turn 7. And a big snap out of the rear. Manages to catch it, but this isn't going to be the best time from the Racing Point. And really, with only one set of softs, you don't get too many attempts. Maybe 1 or 2 laps.
Yeah, exactly. Just looking at him through turn 7 and 8, it's such a tricky set of corners that turn 7 it goes on camber, then as you flick to turn 8, the road just goes off camber, and then you go on camber through turn 8. You also got to avoid that sausage curb on the inside of turn 8. You just can throw some spanners in the work, and you really need a good exit through those 2 corners to set yourself up for turn 9 and that run down to turn 10.
Well, he's set a 1:15.731, and he's got the fuel light on, so I don't think he can go again. But a 1:15.7 for the first potentially actual lap time that will be here at the end. Not so much seems flying, but again, invalidated. Ben is on an outlap in the Mercedes. And is this his actual run? He did say he was going for the lap record, and he hasn't invalidated in the typical spot. So I think the Mercedes right here will be going for it. A 1:14.7 is his current time to beat. He actually just beat that just on his outlap alone. So what he can do when he's pushing is going to be quite something.
Just the lap before you saw Angel through turn 2 is just stuck to that AstroTurf. Ben the Bear able to just have that car control, able to keep that car to the left, and then open up for turn 3. That led such a great slingshot through it, and just enabled him to get a faster time. He's got the purple sector 1, obviously, on the softer tyre, albeit, still, it makes such a difference able to open yourself up and just have that car control that he does. Look at that through turn 7 and 8. Perfect steering angle just to control the car. How's he going to go through turn 9? Perfect. On the throttle, DRS open. Brake just at that 100-meter board. Get that car late turn in, late apex. Throttle over the curb, over that AstroTurf. Just clip that inside curb. Now you got turn 12. You're hugging the inside, and then just slowly applying that throttle. You want to brake at that box on the left-hand side and just avoid that inside curb. He's in the wall and he's out.
Well, that is a huge upset for this because, well, he just clipped that sausage curb and it just rotated the rear and he couldn't get it caught. You're in the grass and then bang, there's a wall straight ahead. So Ben the Bear when he's got a 1:14.7 on the board, but that will be his best time here in Spain. And this could open the door up for Mikel, because he didn't think he could beat Ben here, but now a door has been opened up, not just for Mikel, but every other driver on this grid, because now there's an opportunity. Ben coming through saying his controller died, and he was having a few problems with it before, but Ben is out of this qualifying session. He's at the top of the leaderboard right now, but we've still got 6 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. So that pole position is flung wide open as Matt invalidates his lap times coming through 7 and 8, but my goodness me, I don't think anyone was expecting that at that moment after what was such a well-constructed lap.
Last season, I was talking all about opportunities with Ben the Bear trying to beat Revo in that championship before Revo decided to pull out. Well, this is an opportunity for Mikel. He's got to grab this by his hands. Ben the Bear's not set a representative lap time that he want to do a 14.7. Mikel could probably beat that. And if we get a couple other guys on softs trying to beat Ben the Bear, trying to just go for that truck position instead of maybe going for that long run in the race and that strategy, gee, we could see a big upset here. Ben the Bear really confident, and Mikel didn't think he really had much of a chance to beat him this week, but gee, how that has turned on his head right now.
The only saving grace that Ben might have here, Seb, is that he did put that 1:14.7 on mediums. If he does end up qualifying in the top 10, it might save him in the race. That is,
yeah, exactly.
I think, the only thing that Ben can cling to right now, and hope for. I think Cello right now, flying in the McLaren. He's on mediums. We'll have to see where he puts himself. Doesn't look like it's going to be the best lap time out of the McLaren. 3/10 down through the first 2 sectors, but let's see what he's got through the last couple. He's still pushing, ERS deployed. And we're in those final 5 minutes now, so you can see all of the drivers coming out on fresh mediums. Cello is going to round out the lap time in the McLaren. What's it going to be? To the line, a 1:15.325, 3.2 second improvement on a 1:15. Puts him in P2, just ahead of Angel. Helium in the Williams, coming through into the final sector. What can he put on the board for the Williams squad across the DRS timing line and to the line? It's a 1:15.764. Just 0.03 of a second behind the racing point. No,
Panda on their softs. T-Mac's out on the mediums. Just talking to T-Mac just before the race. He told me he didn't do any practice, but yet he was still confident he could get some points on the board here. He's just trying to build up on those 2 races he's done, one as a reserve, one as a full-time driver last week at Netherlands.
Well, times are starting to come down, and qualifying around here, a pretty important stage at the weekend, regardless of whether qualify high or not. You just need to really nail down your tyre strategy here, and here comes Trin to the line on 1:21.2, so he won't be happy with that lap time. I think he's going to push again, though, on those mediums. Mikel, he's flying 7. What can the Australian do? Can he extend his lead at the top of the table now that Ben does have this problem? Although no one's beaten Ben's time yet, and we've only got 3 minutes left.
Yeah, exactly. Mikel did set a purple sector 1 by the looks of it. See how he goes here. He does have a greener, oh sorry, not a greener track. A better track than Ben the Bed. Does more rubbered in, bit hotter. Should be about 5/10 in it from start of the session to the end. In track evolution, just gotta hook this up here. As you go, clip that inside curb of turn 11, hug the inside of turn 12, get on the throttle. He's able to get on it just about. Well, he invalidates it. Oh, hopefully he's got enough fuel to go for a second run here.
Well, he doesn't have the warning light.
He's got to hope. Yeah, he doesn't. That's a good sign. He's in P17. He really needs to get a lap out here.
It'd be a huge upset to this grid if neither Ben nor Mick put in a competitive lap time, especially if Mick didn't put in a lap time at all. But he is going to push again. He still doesn't have that warning light, so fingers crossed for the AlphaTauri squad. Mikel does have enough fuel in that car to get himself running, and his teammate Stars, he's just hopped out behind him. You can see him there in the background, pulling off the racing line. He's on an outlap, so AlphaTauri's getting geared up and ready to go. But Mikel now, 30% ERS in the tank, still got enough to get through as he comes out of turn 5 through turn 6. And let's see what sort of time he can put in when he crosses And Sector 2 timing line at the end of this DRS straight. The ERS looking a little bit thin, but he's still got just enough. He's actually going to save some down into the hairpin. I think just so he has enough to power out through Sector 3. Purple Sector 2. Now just using all of that curb again on the outside, but this time it's still valid for the Australian. Through the chicane, a lot of the sausage curb taking a huge bounce. That's going to hurt his time through the final corner. It's still valid for him, but what is it? It's a 1:15.1, and that doesn't put him ahead of Ben, and it doesn't put him ahead of Remco Van Putten either.
Yeah, look at that. It's cost him dearly. He just looked really tentative, just like he wanted to get that lap on the board. Like I said, it's probably better he tried and did that than going for that all for nothing at that moment in time, because, well, otherwise he would have no contention of fighting Ben the Bear for the win. What looked like an opportunity has kind of gone away from him now. He's got Remco between him at the moment. It doesn't look like he's going to go for another lap.
Well, Ben managing to stay at the top here. A very impressive feat given the crash. And we will start on 2 lap-old mediums. As we've got Panda here. He's coming through Sector 3. A little bit squirrely in the Williams. I think Combined Future as well just failed to improve on his lap time. And I think he was on softs as well. So interesting from him. Panda now coming through the final corner. What can he set on those mediums? Across the line it's P9, a 1:15.761. And that is just 3 thousandths ahead of his teammate.
Look how tight it is from 7th to 11th. Just over a 10th. Meanwhile, Stars is running through the final sector trying to complete his lap. See if he can improve on it. He really needs to. He needs to be up there with his teammate. Get those points for AlphaTauri. Mercedes closing in, especially with Captain Gold in here. And he goes and he sets a 15.3. And he's just behind Cello and just in front of Eccentric. He split those two in the McLaren and Ferrari. 4P5.
Yeah, that's a really tight battle. Angel, he's just given up on his softs run. It looked like he was going to push us. Captain O'Gold has just crossed 3rd. The 1:15.1 just bumps Miko down a place. And that's on 3 lap-old mediums. So both of the Mercedes here will be starting on very old mediums compared to the rest of this grid. Not going to cost them too much, I don't think, particularly in the early stages. But after a short amount of laps, they will start to cost them just that little bit more than everyone else. I think it's Eccentric here. We're just waiting for him to pull into this pit lane. And then, well, a very, very interesting Spanish GP is about to take place, Seb. This qualifying, not what I think anyone expected.
Yeah, exactly. Mercedes are finally getting their team championship campaign underway in this APAC division. Captain Gold's made a race after missing 3. He's put himself in 3rd. Ben the Bear, even though he spun out mid-quali, he's still got it on pole. Mikhail now had the missed opportunity, and you know, anything could happen in the race, but quali was very interesting indeed.
And there are the qualifying standings. So Ben the Bear still managing to clinch pole after that crash. A 1:14.720 on the mediums. Remco Van Putten 2.5 tenths behind him. Then we have Captain of Gold in the other Mercedes. Mick out in the AlphaTauri, only managing P4. Cello in P5. Then the other AlphaTauri of Stars in P6. Eccentric in 7th. Trin in 8th. Shrimp in 9th. And Angel rounds out the top 10. Then we have Panda, Helium, T-Mac, Combined YouTuber. Not so Masum, not setting a time. Matt not setting a time. PTR not setting a time either. Serving a qualifying ban, I think. And a DSQ, unfortunately, down at the bottom there for Yukio. So he wasn't able to set a time either, but that was not what we were expecting from qualifying. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This is the last Formula 1 race for the week for MRL. You're here for the APAC division, and a big shout out to everyone in chat as well as our amazing partners Next Level Racing. If you're looking for sim racing rigs, then be sure to go and help us out. Check out their link in the chat. Go have a look at their awesome set of products. They're doing amazing things for the sim racing community, so be sure to go and have a look over there. But Seb, as everyone gets their setups dialed in, loads into the session, this is shaping up to be a very, very dynamic race with, well, a few drivers not where we'd usually expect to see them.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is dry. We will have no rain. Hopefully we don't get caught by surprise like we did in the Netherlands where that rain came at the very end of the race, last 3 laps with that little safety car in there as well. But yeah, Mikel's got some ground to make, doesn't he?
Indeed.
He said he wants to keep he just wants to keep scoring those points, getting those podiums, making sure that Ben the Bear doesn't take too much out of him. But with Ben the Bear said before he had a controller disconnect or a controller issue, so if that happens again, then Mikel could be on here.
And I think one thing with Spain as well is that around this track you can just bring out a safety car pretty much at any time with, someone just spinning it out of turn 9. It's such an easy corner to have a little mistake through. Turn 2 as well here as the drivers, well, Remco almost proving my point instantly with a huge slide through the second corner. But either one of those corners, especially if you're side by side through turn 2, so easy to put it on that inside wall that a safety car can be brought out pretty much at any point throughout a race here around the circuit to Catalonia. And, well, let's just see how it shakes out, because if a safety car, you can't really plan for one here around this track. Obviously a lap 1 maybe, but just because of the nature of those corners, it just can come as a huge surprise. And, well, there's not much to talk about in terms of the tyres, Seb, because there's only 2 people not on the medium, and it's not so Masum and PTR on the hards down in 15th and 17th.
Well, medium hard is the go-to strategy, and it's very hard to make stuff the hard last. Ben the Bear was the only one who was looking to do it, from what we heard, and, well, just because of his crash in quali, it meant that we didn't get to see that. But yeah, you said, not a lot of variety going on here. So I'm assuming Peter only goes on hards, but that's a good gamble right there. You don't have a lot of the field on the hards. If this pans out for them, they get a late safety car around lap 18 or so. That could really work for them. But yeah, just another note. I think you said before that turn 2 can really catch some people off guard. You tend to get a lot of fighting into turn 1 and turn 2, and we've seen a fair bit of incidents through there. Along with that, just a note, there was a note out by one of the stewards crew that you were not to cross the pit entry line from turn 15, crossing over to that pit entry line, which kind of crosses through turn 16. And, well, we've had in tier 2 10 reports of that, all of which were given penalties. So drivers here are going to hope they don't do that, otherwise they could end up in the bins.
Well, here we go. It's 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights here in Spain. And away we go then for the Spanish Grand Prix. It looks like Stars has had an excellent start off the line. He is already past Cello for P5. Meanwhile, Remco really just slipstreaming Ben down into turn 1. Stars now having a look around the inside of Captain O'Gold, who's already dropped to his teammate Mikau as well. So Captain O'Gold really not having a good start. It looks like there's been some sort of issue down at the back. We've got a couple of cars off. We've got the Racing Point of Yukio, Healy and Matt all caught up in whatever happened there, but it's not caused a safety car, it's not sprung a VSC, and everyone still racing here, as it looks like the 2 Haas cars are going side by side, as well as the Williams and the Racing Point ahead of them. There's a lot of action going on down through turn 5 and 6 right now. Going into 7 and 8, Panda unheld, still side by side. Trin and Stars are off. I don't think either is actually retired, but both cars into the wall on the inside of turn 8, and that has brought out the safety car.
Indeed, Peter is up a lot of positions. He's into P10. What a great start from him. Just a note on the 2 Williams. Panda and Helium came together into turn 1. Looked like Helium just understeered him. That's why you saw that pile up in turn 1. I do not get to see what happened between Trin and Stars, but I don't think either will be happy with themselves for that.
Well, here is the opening safety car, and like you said, Peter up 7 places on those hards. That strategy now looking more and more viable. It's almost as if he qualified at the top 10 on them, because he's already here, and these tyres now going to get preserved a little bit under safety car. And, well, they could take him a long, long way in this race. As up at the top, Mikau, well, he's actually not in P1. The timing tower's saying it, but I do believe it's still Ben who leads. Remco behind him, then Mikau in 3rd place.
Well, the two just got bunched up there and nearly ran into each other as that safety car had to just fall behind the safety car. But yeah, we've got 4 guys in the, or 6 guys actually from the looks of it. So that timing board still just plays with both of us. But yeah, that's just an interesting start. This wasn't as anticlimactic as it was last week, where we had that safety car within 15 seconds of the start. Actually got to see a bit of action. Yeah, it's not going to do much to strategies here. It's going to see a lot of guys switch on to mediums or hards depending on what they started on.
Well, I think everyone's gone for the hards there. And with Peter and Not So Masoom, the only two to start on the hards, still on them, up in, well, what is apparently 10th and 12th, and I think that might actually be correct at this stage of the race. But now we just got to wait for those few guys at the back to rejoin this grid. I think the safety car will go around once more. Seems a little late to call it in now, but it was called in pretty late last week as well. You know, even Mikhail saying he was caught off guard by how late that safety car was brought in, but it's still Ben the Bear here at the front end of the grid, followed by Remco Mikhail in P3. He's dispatched Captain O'Gold. The Mercedes, though, they will be happy with this start because for the other AlphaTauri, Star's not having a good start at all. He is down in 15th place right now after his coming together with Trin through 7 and 8. Everyone else just weaving behind them to make sure that these tyres have got enough heat within them. No penalties on the opening lap, so that's what you love to see. No one's picked up a speeding penalty in the pit lane. No one's had some aggressive corner cutting to avoid any incidents. So very, very nice from everyone in the opening laps. Just got to make sure that the safety car restart goes off without a hitch, because as Striff likes to say, safety cars breed safety cars, and we've already seen that here this week in Tier 3. The safety car led to a VSC pretty promptly after it. But I imagine this one going to get called in just a few moments here.
Yeah, you expect it. All the cars have concentrated up behind it. Got that single file. It's kind of snake just weaving around the track.
Can be a little difficult to get heat in the tyres.
Just a note, Crampy, we are trying to get Matt into the session, but we're not able to invite him at the moment.
Well, the safety car is coming in as Ben really slows this grid down. He's bringing that speed way down in that Mercedes. He is taking full control of this grid, and well, we've seen him have some pretty incredible race restarts before. He's no stranger to leading this pack at the tail end of a full course yellow, but here he goes, really just controlling the speed through Sector 3, and this just causes chaos behind him as people struggle to get positioned correctly through the chicane. Is he going to gun it out of here? He is indeed, just going into the final corner, and there comes the Mercedes steaming round the final corner, and already look at the gaps forming at the opening of this grid, but down further back, Peter on the rear of T-Mac. He's got a very nice exit, fully utilising that ERS, a bit more available to them than it was in the Netherlands, and Peter on the restart picks up what I believe is his 8th position of the race, and the hards working out for him, but not so much for Not So Masoom, as the Renault gets picked off for 12th, and well, he might lose 13th as well to combined YouTuber on the fresher hards behind him in the Ferrari. But other than that, not too much changing on the restart. The Ferrari, though, up the inside. Combined YouTuber now looking around the outside, down into turn 5. Can he find the grip he needs on that outside corner? It doesn't look like he can, and this could open the doors up for Stars. Stars up the inside of Ferrari, and now looking at the Renault as well through 7. He's had one incident through there this morning already. But for him now, he picks up P13. No questions asked. A very, very nice couple of moves from him. And now Not So Masoom still under pressure from the number 15 Ferrari and combined YouTuber, who takes him around the outside of the hairpin. And that might open the door for Yukio as well.
And now Trin looking as well. He just overtake Helium around the outside. UK losing it through turn 12. Nearly came together with Somasuma. Somasuma just getting caught out by Combine going around the outside of turn 10. That just meant he didn't get as good traction. That allowed Yukio through, but Yukio just lost it, didn't he?
Yeah, very, very slightly. Oh, there's a Renault off, and that is a huge hit into the rear. I don't know who hit him because no one's pissed has damage. But...
Is it Trin?
He's got no damage on that front. I thought it was Trin as well, but no one's got a right end plate missing. Eccentric's off as well. Eccentric.
Jeez, it's all happening, isn't it? Oh, he nearly came on the track and nearly hit Trin as well.
Well, this safety car restart has been one to remember, that's for sure. Stars and Matt there exchanging. Stars really on a charge after losing those opening lap positions. He's back up into P11 now. But my goodness, I'm still not sure who hit that Renault. But they didn't pick up damage.
Yeah, exactly. Just Somasuma hit that inside curve of turn 16. That tends to spin you around, especially when you pin that throttle down and have Rich on. Oh, other than that, yeah, I don't understand. I could have sworn that Trin hit him, but I guess there must have been decent there. On the other hand, Stars must be pretty chuffed about his past 2 laps, isn't he?
Well, Matt's off now as well. What is going on? But yeah, Stars, like you said, very, very happy with how this is. Not so Masum as well. He's got no damage on that car either. Mikhail right now. He's closed the gap to Remco quite nicely. He's just been sitting behind him, and Helium as well right now. Looks like he could try and find him, although Trent got a lot better speed, maybe running a little less on the wings. But the two just holding on to their positions for now. But yeah, not so Masum without damage as well, so these cars out here very resilient. Matt, he's going to retire himself from the session after rejoining, so that car will be off the track now. But what a restart, and this grid already pretty spaced out here around Spain, and we're only on lap 6, Zeb, so plenty of time for these guys to change positions, but as it stands, no one really in the firing line, except maybe for Remco Van Putten, who's got Mick out all over his gearbox.
Another yellow flag. That's T-Mac who spun around between turn 11 and 12. He's probably... Oh, I wonder what's going on there. He's probably just hit that inside curb and just lost it. But geez, Mikhail's got a great run on Remco. Remco squeezing him down that straight. But Mikhail's just going to storm by with that DRS and that ERS and take P2 from him into turn 1.
And when he picks up P2, but it's not without its problems, because look how far Ben the Bear is already ahead. He's got that 2.8 second lead. Here goes combined YouTuber. DRS really pulling him through ahead of T-Mac. Meanwhile, Helium pulling a similar move on Trin down behind him. So a couple of positions coming as a result of that DRS down that huge start-finish straight into turn 1. Very, very popular overtaking spot. Pretty easy to do. And on the gaps here, pretty large, but you've still got these battles up and down the grid for various positions, and I'm sure Remco won't be too happy about the fact that Mikhail's picked up P2 from him, and he'll try and get it back, but the AlphaTauri seems to have a little bit more pace than the Red Bull.
Yeah, exactly. I think Remco's got bigger problems to worry about right now. Captain Gold is within that DRS range, and so is Cello. Those two looking very, very good at the moment. Just sitting behind him, not just going to bide their time, maybe try and force him into a mistake as he just slowly falls off the back of Mikhail's DRS.
Yeah, and here comes the first few penalties. T-Mac, not so Masum. Mikhail sets the fastest lap of the race, and that'll be aided by the fact that he had DRS, where Ben the Bear did not. Panda now, well, he had a look up the inside of the racing point, but very, very late, and it's cost him a lot of time, actually, and that could cost him to someone who's had a very good start, and that's Peter, up into P8 on those hard compound tyres, and it looked like he was going to have a very late lunge up the inside there, down into turn 4, but it's not to be for the Red Bull. He's going to bide his time, and he just needs to do exactly that, because these hards could prove very, very strong at the tail end of this race.
Exactly. He's going to start putting on a show, but right now, there could be some fireworks right now. Panda and Peter have some history. Yeah, we could see something very interesting.
Down into the hairpin they come, and you can see that Angel ahead of them, and well, he wasn't without his issues in qualifying, managed to get it through though, but a couple of invalidations saw him struggle, and now that could lead to penalties, and penalties can lead to huge problems at the end of the race for these drivers. But 3 cars going straight into this long DRS straight up ahead. The battle isn't quite so close. Let's hop on board with Panda, see what is going on with Williams. Can he get this move down into turn 1? DRS looks to the outside, the racing point giving him no room on the inside line, but side by side through the first corner, and Panda picks off P6. Is Peter going to be able to find a way past? No, but he is still here and just needs to wait for these mediums to dive. Angel again, very wide through turn 3. Not quite opening the door for Peter up the inside into turn 4. But Peter now maybe looking for a lunge into turn 5. No, well, with a braking issue like that, that lockup could have opened the door for him. He might try it now. The inside of 7, it's going to be risky. There's the inside of the racing point. Almost sending them both spinning, but they just about managed to keep it pointing in the right direction, and now Panda is going to be rubbing his hands together, Seth, because he's got a 1-second gap to these guys.
Exactly. Once you saw Peter going for that move into turn 5, you kind of thought you'd follow it through all the way to the end of that DRS straight that we just passed by. But yeah, that nearly could have ended in tears. But Angel just able to controlling it, and Peter backing it just slightly enough and not committing too much to turn 7 that he didn't take or disrupt the rear end of Angel too much. There's more penalties tick over.
Yeah, and Angel apparently struggling with tyre temps according to the Racing Point pit wall, so this isn't going to be too difficult for Peter as he streams past the Racing Point. They're still side by side through turn 1, but up the inside through turn 2. A little bit of tap to the rear from the Racing Point into the Red Bull, but still P7 for Peter as Angel struggling with tyre temps, and that could be a bit of a problem. But
I'm just seeing T-Mac eccentric on those mediums in P12 and 13 at the moment. That's not going to pan out too well for them, you'd think, unless they get a mid-race safety car.
yeah, it's an interesting strategy. They're the only two really that are going to get caught out, but it's Angel and Shrimp as well, especially if Angel's got tyre temps causing him problems, but that might not go well for him either. Shrimp as well in P9 there, obviously the other Haas's teammate down in P12, the one you were on about, so a few drivers here going to struggle as Not So Masoon picks up P16 after Yukio seems to have had some sort of issue in the other Racing Point. Meanwhile, at the front, Remco not quite close enough to make the move down into turn 1, but it wasn't too far off for the Red Bull, but they're losing even more time to Ben the Bear, and that qualifying crash might have just been a blessing in disguise for him, because these mediums really working out well for the Mercedes at the top of this grid right now, as it looks like Eccentric might be having a look up the inside of the Haas, and has a look he does, but the Haas of T-Mac closing the door nicely, but he does have that penalty which could cost him towards the end of this one.
We're doing a good job to hold him to Miko, and like you said, Ben the Bear, it's almost like that crash didn't dent his ego at all. He did say that he had a issue with his controller that might have affected his DNF, but so far it doesn't look like he's got any of that in his mind at the moment.
Yeah, well, if it was his controller, you know, he could put it down to a mechanical failure. It wasn't his fault. Get his mind back in that game before coming in here, and it looks like he's done just that, like you said. He's really not slowing him down, and through into lap 12 for these guys, just over a third of the way into the race, and it's been pretty quiet since that safety car restart, and well, Ben did a brilliant job at separating this grid, and it won't be too much longer until we start to see these medium runners hop in, open up the pit window, and well, after that, where will Peter land? His teammate Remco Van Putten right now all over the rear of Mikkel, not finding a way through, but it might not be too long. Eccentric's going to have another look up the inside of the Haas, and there's a spin for the Ferrari. Blocking the track, just manages to get out of the way of Trin and Helium, but Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, it just looked like maybe T-Mac could have left just a little bit more room. I think he did leave enough racing room, but it's a question of whether that racing room was enough for Eccentric to keep and just avoid contact with T-Mac.
Yeah, and still Remco clinging to the rear of Mikael, but how long can he stay within this DRS range? There's a yellow flag. It is now. It is T-Mac. And he is struggling big time. There must be damage on this Haas because, well, he's not finding any grip through turn 9 there.
Yeah.
And Remco and Captain of Gold into the pits.
Yeah, it's early call looking to get that undercut. They've got to really make those hards fire up right now. If they want to make most of this, hopefully they don't get caught in traffic. Doesn't look like they will. But Peter and Panda look like they're about to go into a tussle soonish.
And T-Mac does have huge damage on that car, but it, you know, not a terrible time to get it, considering he would have had a scheduled pit stop anyway in just a few moments. And like you said, Peter all over the rear of Panda in that Williams. So we'll have to see with the mediums starting to get to the end of their tether. The hards will really start to work out for Peter, and this is what we were saying before the race began, that these hards really could prove useful. And with the start he had in that opening lap, really taking advantage of all of the drivers struggling around him, this could be Peter's time to shine and really pick up some decent points here, especially after missing the race last week.
He's going strong on these tyres, isn't he? He's able to compete very well. Just making up for last week as Panda calls it pits. And he'll go on to the hards till the end of the race. We'll see where he comes out in relation to Remco, Captain of Gold and those guys. I think he should come out behind Trent, who's in P12.
Yeah, Ben at the top still yet to pit. Angel as well, even with those tyre temperatures causing him problems. He's actually staying out here for the time being, and it looks like there might be a huge number of cars coming into turn 1 with the pit lane. Stars, Remco, Captain of Gold and Cello as well. And Captain of Gold looking for a way past Stars, but not quite finding it. No.
He's looking for a move in the turn 4 though. ERS on. Is he going to try and swoop around the outside of Stars? He's looking, he's going to have to back out Stars. Just fends him off well enough, and he'll have to bide his time for another half a lap or so.
Well, very, very close racing. I think the pit lane there just thrust them all together, and well, they've done well to keep everything clean and tidy between the 3 and, well, the 4 of them, but Remco really just running away, and Stars is on those old hards. He was just sort of a bystander there as these 3 cars just came steaming out of the pit lane. But into the hairpin they go, and no positions changed.
This has really cost Captain of Gold and Cello, hasn't it? Because now they've lost DRS to Remco. Remco, who was all over the back of Mikael, has also dropped about a second off him from that pit stop phase. So that undercut hasn't really worked for them, has it?
Yeah, not at all. It's not one where there's a huge undercut available to the drivers. And, well, coming around this final corner, you can see there Stars instantly going for the inside line to just make Captain of Gold work for the slipstream, but there's not a lot you can do when he's that close behind coming out of the final corner. Don't know whether Cello is going to have a little look past the AlphaTauri at some point in this lap either. Maybe a lunge into turn 10. Could see the McLaren pass, because he really does need to dispatch this AlphaTauri on those old hards, because otherwise he's going to get stuck here and lose out in a similar fashion to Captain of Gold did to Remco's DRS.
It already looks like he's out of that DRS range already in the space of 3 corners, 1 sector. It's that dirty air through turn 3, although it isn't as much as it is in real life. It can really cost you, and it can hurt your front run through that corner. Cost you a lot of time. As Mikael now picks up a 3-second penalty, that could really affect this race now. I thought that was a car off on the left, wasn't it? Is that Remco? It was Remco. Made a mistake somewhere through turn 9. He's had to rejoin on that escape road.
Well, that's brought Captain of Gold straight back into it. DRS range now back in the Mercedes hands, and well, what can he produce with this? Ben is in the pit lane now as well. Peter picks up the lead of this race. Here comes Angel, and he gets Ben as well. Where's Mikael? Does he have DRS? He's not going to have DRS. He's miles behind the Mercedes. So Ben not really phased by what's going on behind him, and he's got these fresh hards, and Cello Stars.
Whoa!
Cello Stars a huge crash into the wall. We just caught the end of that one. Oh my goodness! Panda's caught the McLaren on turn 1. That is a safety car, and that is a monumental crash here on lap 16.
This is panned out for Peter and Angel. Oh my goodness, that is. I haven't seen anything like that for a while. I'll tell you what. I just guess that there might have been a bit of rubbing or something, and maybe they accidentally came into each other. Maybe Cello was coming across Stars' line, and Stars was coming across his line. I don't know. I could probably say that Red Panda was offsided by his teammate Helium in that Williams, and that's why he probably didn't see that stricken McLaren on the racing line of turn 1. But oh my, that's massive.
Well, here comes Peter, and well, mediums to the end. A little bit of a stretch, but definitely possible, and he's not going to say no to a pit stop on the safety car, especially when Ben's just come in as well. So let's just see where he comes out here. It won't be P1, but it could be P2, depending on how quickly the Red Bull squad can get him out here. Here he goes.
Oh, it looks like he'll be behind Captain of Gold, I'd think.
Yeah,
or maybe not. It's gonna be tight. They're gonna go negative into the Delta just to get in front of him, you'd think. And they will.
Yeah.
They'll slow down once they get.
Captain of Gold absolutely expending ERS there under safety car just to ensure that he gets out ahead of that Red Bull, and well, he really needed to. That was very, very tight between them, and well, I'm sure Peter's not going to be disheartened with this because we're considering where he started this race. And what? I don't know if he's had some sort of connection issue there with a controller wheel or whatever he uses there, but just straight lined it out of turn 3. But yeah, considering where he started, and now on the fresher mediums as well, you've got to make sure that he preserves them to the end of this race, but not bad at all for the Red Bull driver, particularly with Remco, his teammate in P3. Red Bull could be looking on for a really nice haul of points here as well, especially considering, you know, AlphaTauri, really only one runner in the race now with Stars out, so they're going to struggle for points. Ben and Captain O'Gold, though, Mercedes, they're still looking like the clear favourites up at the top with 1st and 4th in their grasp at the moment.
Yeah, look at that penalty for Mikael. That's going to really hurt him. He had that, I think, about a 1.8 second gap to Remco before that safety car came out, and that's just dissipated with that incident between Cello and Stars, which will most likely get looked at by the stewards. You'd think it's a massive incident. Yeah,
huge crash coming into turn 1, and well, not an easy place to really crash without, you know, two guys squeezing each other into the wall. Obviously, you want to make it as hard as possible for the other driver, but when, you know, two drivers take themselves out like that, it's never exactly ideal. But here we go. Safety car's out for another lap, so we're at about the halfway point. I think we've just about crossed it, but everyone, if you're just tuning in, it's MRL APAC division here. Round 6 Spanish Grand Prix. Thank you everyone already for tuning in. Thank you very much for the support, and thank you again to our partners, Next Level Racing. Be sure to go give them a check out on their website for some awesome sim racing rigs from beginner all the way up to the most advanced stuff. So give us a hand, go help them out. They're doing great things for the sim racing community. But, well, Seb, this race wasn't normal before, when qualifying had a lot of ups and downs for these guys, and now, well, with this, it's not exactly been what you could call a normal race, and possibly we're going to have some more upsets along the way. I don't even know who to put on the podium here. I think Ben's got just incredible pace, but Mikael with the penalty, PTR, Angel, both of them have a penalty, but they've got these fresh hards to Angel. Fresh mediums to Peter, that could see him. He's had strong pace to carve his way through the grid already.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Remco, just checking, Remco has 2 warnings to his name, and Captain Gold has 1 warning to his name. I don't know if those are track extending warnings or just collision warnings, but, you know, it's still to play for. If Remco makes a mistake and those 2 warnings are indeed track extension warnings or corner cutting warnings, then he's got that penalty. That that could bring Peter into it, Angel into it, Captain of Gold would definitely be into it.
Well, combined YouTube, I think I just saw. They kicked up a 5-second penalty for a severe collision, and, well, we know how that goes in this game. Not usually particularly deserved, but it wasn't combined YouTube. Who was it? Maybe Trin?
I didn't really
Definitely
think.
a
Probably
red one.
Trin. Yeah, it'd be Trin, you'd think. You give a quick check of...
It looks like he's missing an end plate.
Yeah, you'd think so then. He's pitting.
Can't see now when. Let's go onto the external cams, but I imagine Trin maybe just tapped the rear of someone there. All these Alfa Romeo engineers holding a front wing. They are indeed, and well, there he goes. He is serving the 5-second penalty. And all this being said and done, how long is the safety car gonna stay out? Because I imagine it was gonna come in at the end of this lap, but with the Alfa Romeo now way down in just 14th position, it's going to be allowed to rejoin the rear of the grid before the race control pull in the safety car from the front of this grid. Ben the Bear, he's already had one brilliant race start here around Spain. I don't doubt that he can do it again.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't do the same thing as last time. Oh, I thought he nearly lost it under the safety car just out of turn 7 through turn 8. Just a bit too much lock
What's
on it.
happened to
Nearly
Angel?
lost the rear end. He spun it.
Angel's,
He has spun it.
Yeah, he's hit the wall. You can see his end plate in the
I think
background.
I think he did the same thing as what Ben the Bear did, but he just couldn't hold it.
Well, that's pretty much race over for the Racing Point, because he's going to have to come into the pits. He's got damage on that front wing.
The second safety car as well.
Oh, they've...
Yeah, I don't think
what's happened there? Yukio's just gone into the wall.
Oh!
I didn't even see how that came
Like...
about, but Yukio's into the wall, Angel's into the rear, and Trin's up caught in this. Not so Masoon's here as well.
I believe all these drivers might have had to let Angel by or something. That's what I'm thinking. I think that's why they slowed up, and maybe Yukio got punted from behind. This has turned into a bit of a disaster. A bit of chaos at the moment.
Well,
we're racing now.
Yeah, it's restarted, and up at the front, everything looks as if you would expect it to. T-Mac looks like he's got a nice run on eccentric down into turn 1, but not quite going to find the room to get past the Ferrari, and not quite got the pace there. Obviously no DRS yet with the safety car just having come in. Not so assume he's going to get himself retired in the pit lane, and well, we'll see whether Angel does the same. I think he will be coming back out. But everything staying quiet at the front.
Yeah, well, Peter's just all over the back of Captain Gold. Those mediums looking like they're lighting up for him, and Captain Gold's hards just not clicking so far. Peter's just got to bide his time at the moment. He's got to be patient. He's just got a good 14 laps to do this.
Yeah, not going to take the move down into turn 10. I don't know. We haven't seen a single move, I don't think, Seb, down into turn 10 yet today. Maybe drivers just thinking it's a little risky, and well, it is. It does usually involve a little bit of a dive up the inside, but maybe one around the outside. But we haven't really seen anyone making that last lunge. We did see it, I want to say tier 2, last lap, someone making a huge lunge up the inside. But here goes PTI again, overtake enabled, and he's got the slipstream, no DRS again.
Go for a lunge here.
Side by side, down into turn 1, a little lock up from the Mercedes, and well, Peter, very nicely constructed move, picks himself up into P4. A penalty for him, but if he can get past Mikkel, then that penalty might not cost him as much as it would, because Mikkel himself has the 3 seconds to his name, and Remco, like you said, his teammate, he's not too far away from picking up a penalty of his own.
Yeah, he isn't. Is he? PDI's had a. He's building together a solid race. That's another penalty for him. And gee, that's what was looking. I think I've just kind of jinxed him there. Oh, never talk too soon. But now it looks like he's having a bit of internet issues or something. No, he's fine. But yeah, like I was saying, he was building himself up a good race here. Had great pace on those hards, and well, good move into turn 1 on Captain of Gold. Made use of that ERS. Picked his spot. Captain of Gold didn't fight it using what was a wise head, I'd say.
Yeah, either way, it's going to be a brilliant race for Peter, considering where he started. But obviously, without those penalties, it would have been even better. And the grid starting to thin out a little bit eccentric on the rear of Helium. Might find his way past here, but I don't think he's got the pace. DRS has been enabled, but they won't have it until they come out of turn 9 for the first time. And, well, people who won't have it, Mikhail, Remco Van Putten, neither of those drivers will have the DRS on Ben and Mikhail for respectively. So, the top 3 looking like they're pretty well set in stone. But Remco just needs to stay within 3 seconds, not 1 second of Mikhail, for the final third of the 11 laps that we've got left here around Spain. And everyone else just holding position quite nicely here.
Yeah, exactly. Captain of Gold picked up a 3-second time penalty, which I don't think will come into play in him dropping positions, but it might affect whether he gains any. If he kept it clean, I'd say he had a definite chance of keeping P4 from Peter. But there's a chance now that Peter might be able to pull away. He's nearly stretched it. He has stretched it out to 1 second over Captain of Gold, has he? With Peter's gap to that Mercedes driver. Now Remco gets that 3-second time penalty. So from 2 to 5, we'll have 3 seconds apart from Peter. He's got an extra 3 to his name, making it 6.
And Shrimp's already 2 seconds behind, so this might actually not play a huge role. It's really just as if Peter that has a 3-second time penalty as Eccentric picks up his first, and this is going to be Mikhail's saving grace here. Remco really could have thrown a bit of a spanner in the works, picked up P2 from Mikhail here, which would have given Ben a brilliant opportunity to close that gap too. Mikhail at the top of the standings, but now Ben looks like he should be able to just only get 1 place over him rather than 2, because Mikhail definitely has the pace right now over Remco. He's got 1 lap fresher tyres, and you know, I don't see a pit stop coming out of either of them before the end of this race unless one of them crashes, which is obviously going to be enough on its own to break these guys up. But yeah, Mikhail now going to be a little bit relieved, a little bit of pressure relieved off of his shoulders, so that he can just go and push for the last little bit of this race to just make sure he retains P2, because Ben has looked unstoppable since this race began.
I'll tell you what though, I wonder if Remco just lets Peter by right here on this main straight, just to have a go at Mikhail, because there's a chance he could really disrupt what Mikhail's got going on right now for P2. But then again, we saw at Bahrain that Remco and Peter really went at it, and that really cost those two, didn't it, for some good points. And it just looks like here that Remco's going to let him by.
Yeah, Peter, Remco, like you said, haven't worked the best together, since we saw in Bahrain. But today, maybe they're playing ball a little bit better than they were back then. And Peter now up into P3. He's got pace. You can see it now. He's already pulled out.
Oh.
Well,
another 3-second time penalty.
He's picking them up so quickly. I don't know what he's doing there in that Red Bull, but these mediums, maybe he's pushing just a little bit too hard.
Yeah, he does tend to drive on the edge a lot. Very aggressive driver, pushes the limits a lot, and that can sometimes rub off poorly when he's racing or pushing the track limits. And he's just seeing it right now.
Let's have a look. Let's see.
Liking the spread of the field though. It's relatively tight. Good battle going on for P7 right now, all the way to P11. We got this front 5 or front 4, I say, going at it.
PTR now 9 seconds of penalties. That could see him drop big time in this race. Really drop him way down in these points. As it stands, I think he'd come out somewhere around P9, given how tight these guys are. Obviously, this battle for P7 could really drag these guys back out of that penalty range, and most of them probably don't even know that Peter has such a penalty, that they are in range of one of the drivers who is currently sitting in a podium position, but he definitely won't finish there unless there's a huge upset behind him with Remco, Captain of Gold and Shrimp. As there's a yellow flag, it's almost like Yukio, who's been struggling all night long. The two Ferraris, they're going at it into turn 10 and eccentric. Well, I wasn't really expecting it, but he's picked up a nice move, and there goes Goodbye YouTuber spinning through the opening of turn, what's that, 11 there, but that's not what you want to be doing at this stage of the race, and well, that's just pulled him straight out of contention.
Oh, it's unfortunate, isn't it? You don't expect moves to be done into turn 11, do you? I've got in my notes turn 11, no battling. Just simple, just avoid battling in there. It's a very tight corner. That curb can really push you onto someone else on the outside when you try to overtake. It never ends well. Helium T-Mac now bumping wheels through turns 1 and 2. Can T-Mac have a fight through to turn 3? No, he kind of got the inside line, kind of having to yield to Helium on the outside, and he was just ahead.
Yeah, not only do you not expect battling through turn 11, but I don't think for Combined Choo-Choo he was expecting his teammate to send it quite as he did up the inside into turn 10, so the Ferrari squad appearing to be very individualistic in their approach to this race because Eccentric's just gone, sent it on the inside, got himself out of this train, but at the cost of his teammate being thrown outside the points, so maybe with enough penalties, Combined Choo-Choo could see himself claw back maybe 1 point from T-Mac, maybe, but as it stands, he's well and truly outside of that range.
Yeah, exactly. It's just Eccentric looked like he was going to overtake him. I don't understand why he just didn't wait till the main straight. He is your teammate. I don't think Combined will put up too much of a fight. If he's your teammate, knowing Combined, I've said it before, he's a respectable driver. He'll keep it clean. He'll give you the space. As long as you respect him as well.
Well, this fighting has done exactly what we thought it would, and it's put a little bit of a safety net for Peter, and he's not going to drop quite as far now. I think he'd only drop down to about P7 maybe with the penalty as it stands, but with the rate he was picking it up, he could pick up another 3-second penalty, make it 12 before the end of this race, and that's where problems start to arise for him. But I think right now he'd probably be somewhere around P7, P6, P7 as it stands, but all to play for at the end of this race, and I'm sure the interviews we have after this one, Seb, are going to be very, very interesting.
No, that will be indeed. 6 DNF so far. Still six odd laps to go. Just as Ben the Bear crosses the line, we could see some more incidents to come.
Yeah, Ben crossing onto lap 28, only 5 laps to go. And fingers crossed everything stays clean until the end. Captain of Gold right now. DRS on Remco Van Putten, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the move into turn 1. Nope. Going to be patient. The Mercedes just going to pick up as many points as he can here. And, well, you're not going to pick up any if you crash out yourself and the car ahead, trying to make an opportunistic move. T-Mac putting pressure on, under a little bit of pressure from Trin, and we'll have to see what happens here. Trin, without a penalty, could see himself climb just a little bit, maybe a couple places from Helium, from T-Mac here, with the pair having both got 3 seconds to their name.
Yeah, exactly. Trin, I thought he could have made a move on T-Mac there down into turn 1. He was very close, had 60% ERS. Could definitely made a move, but you know, you said he has no penalties. No need to risk anything. He's just gonna get moved up this order, just on the fact that he's kept it clean the whole race.
Yeah, I don't think he really could find anything else. Eccentric hard, so 14 laps on those tyres, whereas Trin now 10 lap old mediums. They'll start to be getting to the end of their life in a couple of laps time, so he probably not going to be able to have an easy opportunity to push for the Ferrari. So I think he's just going to bide his time, wait, and just pick off the Williams and the Haas on the line for points. It's not what any racer wants to be doing. They all want the track position, of course, but under these circumstances, when the points are already in the ground.
Yeah, T-Mac's got to run. He's looking on the outside. Helium looks like he's going to defend the inside. T-Mac going around the outside. They bang the wheels. Looks like T-Mac turned on Helium, but it looks like Helium's going to have to back out now. Just fall behind T-Mac. But it looks like he's got a great run through turn 3. T-Mac just getting a little bit out of shape. Now he's got the inside into turn 4. Who's going to blink first? Look like it, T-Mac. Helium sends it down the inside. Will he give T-Mac the respect? No. T-Mac getting shoved off of the track, and that allows Trin through into P8. Look at that. the patience on Trin has allowed that tussling from Helium and T-Mac to just allow him into P8 without any worries.
Well, they just gifted him the run now, so even if he didn't want to, now the door really has opened up for him to make that run on Eccentric. He needs to find a second in 4 laps. A tall order, but he just needs to make sure that Helium doesn't really fight him too much here. Helium still within DRS range of the Alfa Romeo, and combined YouTuber now, he's on for a point. He's been brought back into things because of T-Mac's incident, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish in at least P10. I don't think he'll finish in P9, but possible. And he'll be happy that after all of this, he is rewarded a singular point for his efforts. And now Trin really dumping his battery. You can see, no way he's catching Eccentric. He just needs to hold off Helium here. And, well, there goes combined YouTuber. He does pick up the place from T-Mac. T-Mac into the pits. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Haas retire in the pit lane here.
Yeah, indeed. Didn't turn out for him, did it? That incident with Helium, didn't get a great look at it. Was looking off board, but you know it just didn't work out for him. It wasn't his day-to-day, albeit no practice. So not sure he'll be too disappointed with that.
Yeah, just the last few laps to go now, and everyone pretty much set in stone as Helium. He picks up his his second penalty, 6 seconds now, and that could see combined YouTuber find another place. Can he find half a second in the remaining 3 laps? Again, very tall order, but for an extra point, you never know. He could find a position, especially if Helium and Trin here battle out for P8. They could slow each other down, bring the Ferrari back into contention. Captain of Gold and Remco, they've exchanged for P4. The Mercedes up the inside through turn 1. Remco not going to give it that easily, though. He goes around the outside of turn 3, and what an excellent defense. Remco, one of the best defenders in the league as a whole, and, well, showing his stripes there. You know, I've seen him do plenty of moves like that before, and what an astonishing way to keep Captain of Gold behind him there. Captain of Gold, ERS in his favour, not by much, but he probably will have dumped a fair amount into that lunge there, and now he's got to try and find a way past. He's got 2 laps to do it in after this one.
Yeah. Well, albeit if we have another 2 laps of this battling, we could see Peter hold on to that P3 position.
Well, I think he's got 9 seconds of penalties, so
yeah.
If these guys are 3 seconds, you know, that, like you said.
Look how much Remco just dropped off of Peter in that one corner. We could see him hold on to it here.
Yeah, I wonder if Remco is going to play that rear gunner. Because
I'll tell you what, Captain of Gold he was within striking distance of Remco out of turn 15, but he just didn't get a great run, did he? He might be holding off for a final lap maneuver into turn 1.
Well, Remco's out of ERS.
His time, being patient. Yeah, exactly. He's just using it. So this is great tactics from Captain of Gold. Really good tactics.
And Captain of Gold is actually just within that penalty range of Peter, because he's got a 3 seconds as well, so he needs to be within 6, and right now it's about 5.7 the gap to Peter, probably about 5.8 realistically, so one of the few thousandths that the game will toy around with there that keep changing, but it's going to be very close between these two. We've got a lap and a half to go, and well, Captain of Gold's got DRS. Peter, he's 2.2 seconds behind Mikkel, so he's not going to have that. And Remco really needs to try his best to hold up Captain of Gold. But at the same time, it is a team sport, but these drivers want as many points for themselves. Remco wants to make sure he stays within 6 seconds of Peter as well, so he hops himself onto that podium as well. It's going to be very interesting who sits on that 3rd and 4th spot, as Ben sets fastest lap of the race at 1:16, coming out on the penultimate lap.
Captain Gold didn't do himself any good there. On the entry to turn 14, he hit that outside curb, and that just meant he got a terrible run through turn 14 and didn't set himself up well for turn 15. That just meant he just wasn't close up to Remco there to get the move done. So it was good tactics. It's just led to poor execution on just driving, and well, he hasn't paid off now.
P4 still on the cards for him, but it's going to be literally thousands of seconds at the moment. as they come through. Turn 5 on this final lap. Ben the Bear already approaching Sector 3. And, well, he's one of the only drivers on this grid, Seb, who hasn't picked himself a penalty. And he's done very well to do that. Trin as well. He's penalty free and combined YouTuber. He too.
Shrimp and eccentric. Sorry, just to cut you off there. Shrimp and eccentric going at it now through turn 9. Eccentric get a good run down in Shrimp. He should go for a dive here. We'll get the last lap. He's looking, but Shrimp's cut him off. Moving under braking potentially. He's going to have to back out Eccentric, and he nearly loses it on the apex of turn 10.
Well, Ben, he does pick up that win. Mikau just behind him, and Peter right now, he's on the podium, but who's going to join Mikau? It's Remco for now, captain of gold. 4/10. Doesn't find Peter there, so Remco, it's a Red Bull 3-4. They won't be too disheartened by that. Peter picks up B4, so Remco did just enough there to hold off captain of gold from picking off his teammate. Shrimp, he's going to come home in 6th. Trin in 7th, Eccentric 8th, Helium 9th, combined YouTuber rounds out the points, and then T-Mac and Angel. The only other 2 finishers. We've got 6 retirements here, Seb.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a chaotic race, hasn't it? There's been a fair few incidents that have led to DNFs, and you said before the race that we could see a fair few DNFs as well.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting turn 1 to be, you know, half of them, but yeah, Angel not rounding out this race in the way he wants to, spinning on the last lap all by himself, but fair play to him for finishing the race. You know, it could have been multiple points where he just brought it into the pits, retired the car, but hung out hope. Maybe fingers crossed for another safety car, but not to be for the Racing Point squad. But P12's not a bad finish after the race he's had. But I think, well, Ben and Mikau, they might not have the best view of what happened in that race. I don't think, you know, even Peter might not know the full extent, but, you know. Oh, sorry, Remco picked up that podium from his teammate, but yeah, those guys. Remco, it'd be very interesting to see what he thought about the ending of that. But Ben the Bear, for the 4th week in a row, I do believe, picks up his top spot again, and, well, Mikau sticks in P2. Exactly what he was hoping to do with Ben. Feeling strong around Spain, so I don't think Mikau doubted that Ben would be on that top spot. But let's have a look at those final classifications as they stand. Ben the Bear wins with pole position and fastest lap as well, a 1:16.2. I think that was on the penultimate lap as well on old hard. So very impressive from him. Mikau in P2, the Australian from 4th on the grid. Very nicely done from him. The Dutch driver of Remco van Putten from 2nd on the grid picks up P3. His teammate from 17th to 4th. What a race from Peter there to pick up 4th place. Captain of Gold in the other Mercedes picks up P5. Shrimp in 6th. Trin in 7th. Eccentric in 8th. Helium in 9th. And combined YouTuber picks up the final point. Then T-Mac and Angel, the only other finishers. Yukio, Not So Masoon, Panda, Cello, Stars, and Matt all failing to finish here in Spain. But don't go anywhere, everyone. We're going to have interviews with the podium finishers in just a moment, as well as the outro, and of course a raid to a member of the F1 community. But fingers crossed we can get an interview here with Remco, as long with Ben and Mikau. Ben and Mikau already waiting, but we'll just see if we can't get Remco in this commentary booth as well. But Seb, what a race that was.
Yeah, what a race indeed. Certainly went up to 11 at times with the entertainment factor with all those incidents we had. Interested to see what happens in the stewards room and what the verdicts come out for these reports, because there are going to be some spicy ones, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of people who are, you know, just super disappointed with how that was going to, you know, that one's turned out. But just, man, it was so dramatic. We haven't really seen that level of drama from, you know, these races. We had a fairly decent battle to the line in Tier 1, but not, you know, that huge crash into Turn 1. Really just turned the race on its head. Qualifying as well. You know, all throughout this week, we've had people just waiting until that run on the mediums, making it a one-shot race. But Ben crashing out, Mikkel not able to put in the lap time he wanted. I'm sure we'll get both of those, talking here. It doesn't look like Remco gonna come for an interview, so we'll hop on board with Mikkel straight away, bringing in the P2 finisher. Mikkel, another podium for you. How was that one?
Honestly, from our side of things, it was a pretty boring race. I had Remco in my DRS for quite some time during the first stint. I couldn't really get the mediums to work. I don't know what it was. Throughout practice, it was fine, but just for some reason today the mediums didn't really work. But once the safety car came out after Ben and I had pit, it was pretty smooth sailing from there.
Well, everyone in the chat, and when you rewatch this race, you'll realise that those safety cars weren't for boring reasons. But before we get to the race, qualifying, there was a lot of upset for both you and Ben. Obviously, Ben crashed out, but then you invalidated that first run on the mediums. What was going through your mind when that first lap didn't go through, and then obviously the second lap just about managed to get it through, but almost clipping that curb on the inside? Just what was going through your head during qualifying those last few runs?
Yeah, so the first lap I was actually very upset that it hadn't, I had bottled the lap in the third sector, because it was a really good first and middle sector, like nailed turns 1 and 2, and you know that when you're on a good lap, like it just feels right, like you know that you're in for a good lap, and then it was just just pretty lazy at the third sector. But luckily I still had enough ERS and fuel to go again, so I was like, okay, just get the lap on the board. And then I completely missed the apex at turn 1, which wasn't a good start, and then nearly lost the car completely at the final chicane. So it was definitely a scruffy lap. I definitely could have gone a lot faster. I probably could have beaten Ben's medium banker if I'd gotten a decent lap in, but it is what it is. There's no points for qualifying. Fortunately for me, it's only the race that counts, and we came home with another second place.
Yeah, and then in that race, like you said, not too much on your end, but you did pick up a penalty, and for a while, the drivers behind didn't have it. Was there worry that, at the end of this race you were going to drop? That, we've seen a couple of people here, Peter in particular, dropped with the penalty, but the gap started to draw themselves out. A boring race, you said, but was there any points where you were worried that the penalties were going to cost you?
I would say the 2 to 3 laps after, like those first 2 to 3 laps after I got the penalty, I was a bit concerned, just because I was losing a lot of time behind the Haas of Shrimp. But once the hards sort of phased in, a few laps after that, the gap to Remco just kept extending, and then eventually I think he got a penalty as well. So, yeah, was a bit of worry there for a little bit, but I wasn't too concerned. It wasn't anything. How can I put this? Anything serious, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, well, another podium, so big congratulations. Next week, Monaco, obviously. A bit of a controversial track, a very tricky, very tight-walled track. We're going to go back to those difficult overtaking spots. How are you feeling? What do you think you could produce around what is a very difficult track next week?
I'm not going to lie, Monaco's going to be very tough. It is probably my worst track in terms of just raw pace. I'm confident in my ability to keep it clean when it counts, and in my defending around there, should it come to that. But qualifying is going to be very important, so definitely going to need to work on that this coming week.
Yeah, well, again, another podium. Big congratulations, Mika, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to you in the commentary booth again very soon. But for now, thanks for coming for the interview, and good luck for next week.
Yeah, I hope to be back here soon. Thanks, guys. Keep it up.
Alright, and then Seb, given that we've only got another interview, I'll let you take it for Ben the Bear, and another win for him. Seb, take it away.
G'day Ben, how you going, man? I believe he's muted at the moment. Here we go. How you going, Ben?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, just walk us through what you were thinking when you crashed out in quali. I know you said that you had an issue with your controller before the race. Did that affect you again, or?
Well, a bit mentally. I bet I'm like, oh no, I just screwed up a lap which counted towards what I wanted to do. So I thought, oh, I'm probably gonna start in the top 10, but right behind Mika, which I didn't really need. I was on it until that moment happened. A lot of things went through my head though. I'll say that.
And you kept it pretty clean. That was a relatively easy race for you. Just how are you feeling for next week? It is Monaco. It is tight. Will those controller issues pop up again or anything? Or are you confident that they won't? They'll just go away and that's just a 1 week thing.
I think it's a 1 week thing. Will never happen again. I hope. But as well, Monaco is a tricky track. Just to get the right setup, just to get the right feeling with the car throughout. The whole race. It's quite difficult. Also, the grid position is key for this track as well. So there's no way. Probably, I think everyone's gonna go for the setup which counts the best for qualifying instead of the race. That's my bet.
And those two safety cars, did they at all just ruin your rhythm at all, or were you just dialed in from the go? Because those two safety car restarts you had looked like you were just on the money the whole night.
I would say, just keep doing what I'm doing at best. Just, it didn't really ruin my rhythm, but at some point it did, I think, after the hard restarts, because I wasn't really too used using the hards. I usually use the mediums rather more than the hards. I tend to go for two stops like usual. But this time I had to, I wanted to go for the win badly again. So so that's what I did, I think, yeah.
Well, congrats on your 4th win on the trot, and good luck for next week at Monaco.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so that just about wraps things up. What a race that was. Seb, any closing remarks before we end the stream and go and raid a member of the F1 community?
Not much. It's just a chaotic race. It was quite a fair bit of fun to commentate, actually, and I'm very much looking forward to Monaco, because if this was anything to go by, there's no walls here, and there's a lot of walls at Monaco, as everyone knows, and that could make some serious viewing.
Yeah, indeed. Monaco next week, same time, same place. Monaco action kicks off on Tuesday with Tier 3 at 8 p.m. GMT, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those in America. But that's all from us this evening here for APAC. We'll thank you everyone for the follows, all the support in chat. Make sure you join the Discord to keep up to date with everything Misfits and join in community events, as well as get yourself applied. If you want to join the league, mid-season sign-ups are open, or indeed for next season as well. Make sure you're following us on YouTube as well, just so you get to see all the race replays that are uploaded there, as well as highlights for all of the events over the course of the week. And be sure as well, give us a hand. Go check out Next Level Racing, a load of affordable sim racing rigs and equipment all the way from beginner to advanced level stuff. They're doing great stuff for the community of sim racing, and they're a brilliant partner of ours. So thank you everyone again, once again, for watching. We'll be back F2 tonight for those of us in Europe and the Americas, but we're going to go ahead, hit you with the intro, and we're going to go and raid a member of the F1 community. Thank you very much everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.